All right, welcome to another episode of the Scripting Den podcast. As usual, I'm Fernando, your host, and today we're going to be talking about how to get your business and your IT department to work together to align, essentially. How to get them to work together without wanting to kill each other, which is something that sadly sometimes happens in companies. So let's get going. Okay, so before we get to the how, let's just quickly cover the why. I mean, why would you want to align the business and the IT department or the dev team essentially? I mean, obviously, the more departments that you have aligned within your company, it'll be better for you and you know the strategy overall. But specifically, business and IT have uh, synergy that some companies are just neglecting or just unable to tap into. Uh, your business is, as you know, the force that is driving where the company is going. Kind of, usually, that's what happens. And the IT is the department that usually turns that vision, that those goals into a reality, into an actual product that you can sell, an actual service that you can sell to your customers. Now, what usually happens is that business is driving one way, has a set of goals and a set of milestones that they need to achieve, while IT or the dev team, they have their own set of goals, their own set of milestones. And when those are not aligned, then you start having issues. You start having your business team complaining that the IT team is not properly working, is not releasing fast enough, or is not focusing on things that matter, while the dev team or the IT department is complaining that the business is trying to sell things that don't exist, or that the business is just ignoring technical aspects that are important, like getting rid of tech debt, for example, thinking ahead, trying to create a more stable product. So it's not that they don't care, it's not that they have different goals, it's just that there is a misalignment there. So when that happens, you have less flexibility as a company to move and to pivot your strategy, or to create new products, or try things and see and kind of create small experiments. You have essentially less agility as a company. When there is no alignment, there is a lack of innovation, there is a lack of or also poor decision making, because there those two key sections of your company, key areas of your company, are just not aligned, so they're not talking to each other. Each one is pulling on the rope on their own direction, and in the end, productivity and efficiency goes down. So why would you want to align these sectors within your company? What kind of benefits will you get? These are the ones. You get more agility as a company. You're able to produce and release products much faster and with more stability as a product, as a service. You have the ability to innovate, right? Because the technology and business are working together, so you're able to create new or come up with new concepts that make sense, that can actually be tried. You can actually release an MVP for a new idea, or try or create small experiments to try internally much faster. So overall, as a company, you gain a boost of performance, a boost of efficiency and agility. So that's kind of why you want to get there, why you want to eventually align both sides. Now, how you get there, that's a whole different thing. And believe me, there is no just one way of doing it. There is no just a single recipe that works for all companies. It will depend on, the size of your teams. It will depend on the kind of company you are. But as a general rule of thumb, you do have certain guidelines that you can base your strategy on. One of them, and it might sound like a basic one, to me is like the key one. You need to establish proper and efficient communication channels between both sides. This is not just about saying, Sean has an email and Mark has an email, so let them exchange ideas and let them coordinate. No. Let's just set up sub teams within your areas that have the specific role of coordinating each other, right? And set up regular meetings, for example. I'm not saying daily, but just probably weekly or bi-weekly meetings. Or even monthly meetings, but just make sure that they sit and exchange ideas, exchange reports, and try to tell each other where they're going, what they want to achieve, and the needs they have from the other department. This needs to happen regularly, and the people doing it need to be high enough within each of the respective department, so that when they turn around and leave that meeting with their own set of action items, they have the ability to actually perform those actions and make that happen. How you get those two teams to talk to each other, to work together, it's up to you and your company. You will need some sort of collaboration software. It's either like Microsoft Teams, Slack, even Discord, or I don't know, maybe you're using Confluence and Jira. And it doesn't really matter the specific names. You just need to make sure that you give both areas the tools that are already set up so they can communicate and exchange information. It's not just about creating a meeting or scheduling a meeting once a month. They need to be able to actively interact with each other, exchange information, exchange documents, assign certain responsibilities to each other, and keep track of the progress in a way that the visibility of the progress of those tasks is open for both parties. So if there is business needs something from IT, that need is translated into a set of tasks, and the progress of those tasks is completely public to the business, and the same the other way around. But that's kind of the point. There needs to be an open communication between both areas. Now, probably just as important as having them talk to each other is aligning on their goals, on their set of goals. As you probably know, business and IT, they will have either KPIs or OKRs, or however your company is tracking objectives for each area. Now, if those are created in a vacuum, isolated from the rest of the company, then chances are they might collide or just go in the opposite way from each other. And what you want is for both areas to push essentially the company in the same direction. So even though they might have their own set of objectives, their own set of goals that don't really need to be related, there needs to be some sort of common goal, common set of metrics, common set of objectives that they should be put in there on paper in a way that is trackable, so that that both areas, both departments are working together in some set of common goals, essentially. That way, you have IT helping whatever business needs, and business helping whatever IT needs to achieve. In the same way, involving the IT department, the IT leads in the strategic planning of the main goals for the company. That's a key benefit that many companies are just ignoring. They're just leaving, especially companies that have IT as a section, an area that is responsible of developing internal software, or even the product, but they're not a software development company, right? So it's just one more area within the company. It doesn't really have a lot of importance. They will leave IT out of strategic planning sessions. You need to have IT there. You need to have IT inside the strategic planning meetings, because technology is essentially part of everything. Either your main product, either your main service, or even as a facilitator for a lot of the goals, even decision making, you need IT to be involved to know what every other area in the company needs, so they can plan for that. So they can plan to facilitate whatever needs the rest have. If it's data for smart decision making, they need to process it, they need to ingest it, they need to know where it's going to be, and they need to understand what kind of insights they need to get out of that data. If it's a set of new features for your service or for your product, they need to plan for that. Otherwise, it's just something that falls on them when they've already made their plan. And the other way is the same. As part of the strategy, IT can bring in their own problems, their own set of needs, so that the rest of the company can work on facilitating a solution for them. We're talking about technical limitations, like maybe business wants to go one way and create a new product, and IT just doesn't have either the manpower or the tech know-how or even the infrastructure to pull that off. That will lead to a conversation at the right time, essentially, that will yield solutions to those limitations, as opposed to having everything set up and every other area of the company already agreeing on the strategy, and then having IT bringing in the noise, saying bringing in the problems afterwards. So definitely make sure that IT is part of those strategic sessions with the rest of the company. And then probably the last item that I definitely want to tackle is cross-functional teams and training. What do I mean by this? So many companies just simply have their own, especially not very IT or dev-oriented companies. They have each area working on their own silos and individually. Some of them might have interactions with each other, but this is not a daily collaboration. When you're looking for alignment, the best way to achieve it, or one of the best tools to achieve it, let's put it that way, is to have cross-functional teams. That means having small, instead of everyone sitting on their own corner and working toward their own goals, you could have small teams composed of people from business, from people from IT, people from marketing, people from all different areas of the company. And inside that team, they have their own set of goals for whatever they're doing. Maybe they're working on a specific product, so you have multiple product teams, each of them being cross-functional. That way, there is a daily involvement of all areas working together, a daily collaboration that is direct instead of kind of asynchronous, like I was mentioning before. Now, this can happen only if you also offer sort of like, let's call it cross-functional training. So this means having your IT team doing some business training or doing some marketing training, and having your business team doing some IT training. So this is not, and this idea also sometimes kind of gets people shocked and say, we don't want our business people to start coding, and we can't have our devs thinking about business strategy. That's not what this cross-functional training is. This is just about giving the other side a glimpse of whatever the other team is doing, essentially giving the business team a glimpse of what it means for the dev team to create a product. It's not about giving showing them how to code. It's about teaching them a little bit probably about architecture, limitations, probably about tech dev, key concepts on this overall training, so that one, they can all speak sort of the same language, or at least understand each other when they start going deep or a little bit deeper into their own area. When there is collaboration, there also needs to be conversation. When that conversation happens, you want both sides of the conversation to have a common language, if you will. So if there is no cross training here, what might happen is that the dev team is going to start using their own vernacular, their own jargon to explain why things can't be done or why things will take longer than expected, and the other side is just not going to understand it, and they will use their own set of terms to explain why they need to this needs to happen now, and the IT team is just going to ignore those reasons. So granted, this is not just people are not dumb, and we're not talking about not completely being unable to understand each other, but if you want to help that communication, if you want to foster that communication and make it as seamless as possible, then cross-functional training is definitely a way to help in that regards, to give them sort of a lingua franca, so that when IT starts talking about tech debt, and they start explaining why this needs to be a focus now, so it's not a problem in the future, the other side is going to actually understand the importance of that, and they will adjust the plan accordingly. And when the business starts talking about quarterly objectives and why they are important for the investors, they will be able to adapt their plan accordingly. Again, this is just about giving them as many tools as possible, so that the communication can flow and they can understand each other as fast as possible, essentially, without more people getting involved, without the need to translate things around. And finally, in the same area of cross-training and kind of learning about each other, another interesting idea, if you don't want to spend too much time to work on these trainings, you could set up sort of workshops for each area about the latest trends, about the latest developments in the other area. Essentially, for business, set up some sort of business-oriented workshop that talks about AI, for example, shows something that shows the benefits that it brings, but also the limitations that it has, so that they can use that knowledge to coordinate with the other team. Same goes for IT. Try to give them workshops on methodologies, on processes, on latest market trends or whatever that makes sense for them to be aware of, so that when they discuss them with the business team, they know what they're talking about. They know why they're talking about that as well. So that's kind of a simpler version of the cross-training idea. It's not gonna give you the same results, but it will still give you some. It will give them some tools for them to have some common ground when they're discussing potential objectives and potential goals for the company. So that's it for today. This is a short episode after a little break I had to take due to some health issues. So I hope that you found it interesting as usual. It wasn't really very tech oriented, but I think that having your tech and your business to align each other is definitely something that we as tech people should be concerned about, should be working towards. And if you're part of a very techy company, very tech oriented company, then this is a conversation that you should have with the rest of the company. This is something that should always happen. So again, how do we get that alignment? It depends on, the size of the company, the type of the company, your the different goals that you have, the way you work. But as a general framework, remember to first work on establishing proper and seamless communication channels, very open communication channels between both areas. Make sure that IT and business have a subset of aligned goals for the company, for the quarter or for whatever period you're planning. Just make sure that everyone is sitting on the same table when those goals are created, and that there are common ones between each other, so they can help, they can collaborate on that. And finally, make sure that if you can set up cross-functional teams so that there is a closer interaction between business and IT, and also make sure that you show each area how the other side looks, either through trainings or through some sort of small or shorter workshops, but give them some insight into the other area, so they know what they're talking about, they know why they're talking about it, and they are prepared to have that conversation with the other department. And that's it. Again, hope you found the new episode interesting. If you do have questions, if you do have specific topics that you want me to cover, please, by all means, reach out to me on LinkedIn especially, or leave a comment on the YouTube video here below, and I'll be more than happy to accommodate. So until then, see you on the next one, and happy coding. And that was it for this episode of the Scripting Them podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you can find me online on Twitter at TheLeadMan123, and you can also find the podcast YouTube channel just searching for the Scripting Them on YouTube. Thank you again, and catch you on the next one.